Hello everybody, this is the iPhone channel here. Over here is the Samsung Galaxy A14 5G and it only costed me $40. Let me show you guys the receipt. Over here it is. As you can see, $40 at Walmart in Quincy. Now unfortunately, Cambridge does not really have any nearby Walmart, so therefore I did have to buy the Boost Celeron 5G SC, which actually costed $50, which means $10 more, and this is actually a runner-up. Basically $10 less, but you do get a lot of the same features and probably a more recognizable brand name, which is actually Samsung. So basically the Boost Mobile Celeron 5G SC video would basically be kind of redundant, just because this phone kind of beats the Boost Mobile Celeron 5G in several key factors. Let me tell you guys at the end of the video. But why not? Let's start the unboxing. So over here is the A14, and let me show you guys the serial number to prove that this is really $40. Yes, as you can see, the serial numbers are actually the same, 84035 or something. And let me show you guys the Walmart price. Okay guys, as you can see, the Galaxy A14 now costs $40, down from $60. I was not really aware, and it was $40 for at least a few weeks now. Now if you were to go to our golfer, as you can see over here, you could actually tell the dates. And yes, even a few weeks ago, it was already $40. But due to all the impulsive dumbass and stuff, on New Year's Eve, the day I actually bought the Boost Mobile Celeron 5G SC, I actually forgot to look at Walmart.com. Well, I actually did look at Walmart.com, but I did not really pay attention to like the cheapest 5G phone, so therefore I could not really find the A14 5G for like $40. And it also rivals another phone, which is actually the Moto G 5G 2024, of which that also costs $40. Let me show you guys. Yes, also through Straight Talk, and also $40. So basically the Boost Summit 5G and Boost Celeron 5G SC, which is actually $10 more at $50, actually does have two competitions, the A14 as well as the Moto G 5G. Now if you live in any city like Boston and New York, you can't really access like any Walmart stores. So therefore you would have to go to either Target or Best Buy, which the cheapest 5G phone really is that Celeron 5G for like $50, because the Summit 5G at Best Buy also costs $50 as well these days, because there's no more discount. So why not? Here's my trusty old knife, and let's start. So now going over the specs, there's actually a 6.6-inch FHD plus LCD display, which meant a 1080p display, not a 720p display, just like some of the other cheap phones such as the Moto G 5G, the Boost Celeron 5G, which actually is a 900p display, the HMD Vibe, as well as the Blu View 5. There's actually a 5000 mAh battery, as well as a triple camera, a main camera, a depth camera, as well as a macro camera, and a 13 megapixel front-facing camera. There's 64 gigs of storage, as well as 1 terabyte of expandable storage. So you could actually use a microSD and actually expand it all the way up to 1 terabyte. And there's also an octa-core processor, which is actually MediaTek, by the way. And why not? Let's open the phones, shall we? So over here, so I'm actually going to open it through here, I believe so. And this is definitely a lot easier to open than those Boost. I mean, yeah, I know it does take some time. Okay. And here's the phone. Yes, the A14 5G with the fingerprint sensor as well. I don't know where the fingerprint is or if it's even in screen, but I don't even think it's in screen. I think that's reserved for the A30 series and stuff. Infinity V display, just like that of the Celeron and Blu View 5. And over here is the phone. Yes, I'll actually take some of the wrapping out. And this sure is a far more premium phone than that of some of the others, with a more notable brand recognition. As you can see, it does feel quite premium in the back. And here's the front. Definitely real glass and no plastic here. So why not power on the phone for the first time? And over here is the Samsung logo. And this is actually the USB-C to USB-C. So unfortunately, no power brick. But over here is some of the Straight Talk guides and stuff. I don't really care about any of these. So I'm actually going to set up, and then I'm going to see you guys soon. Okay guys, now let's go over this phone. This phone does ship with Android 13 and it does support 2 major software updates as well as 4 years of security updates, which means it will actually receive security updates all the way into 2028, to be honest. And this phone would actually support Android 15, but it currently runs 14 now. Let me show you guys. So if you were to triple click, yes, it does run 14. Now the Moto G5G would also support Android 15 as well, but it only supports 1 major software update. So hence it only supports up to 15. So due to the fact the Moto G5G only supports 1 major software update, it is basically on par with that of the A14 in terms of software. Adding to the fact the Moto G5G only supports like 3 security updates and stuff, and hence the support will actually be on par with the Galaxy A14, which was released the year before. Unfortunately, I do not believe the Boost Celeron 5G SC, the HMD Vibe, nor the Blu View 5 would actually receive many software updates, if any, to be honest. And it certainly wouldn't receive as many security updates, so I do believe the maximum security updates these 3 other phones would receive maybe are 2 or 3 years, so maybe around 2026, 2027 max. So this phone is far better in support and would last far longer if you were to buy it. Same with the Moto G5G, which would actually support the same amount of years, to be honest. Well, due to the fact the Moto G5G is actually 1 year newer than that of the A14. Now if you were to scroll through menus and stuff, it is going to be absolutely quite fast. There's going to be some latency here and there because this is actually a budget phone, but nonetheless it's still kind of at least okay, to be honest, and competitive. Now if you were to scroll through YouTube, the same thing would actually apply. It is going to be a bit slow. You would actually see some latency, to be honest. But to be honest, for $40, I would not really expect much. This is quite on par with that of the Celeron, maybe a bit slower, to be honest. But in my opinion, I do believe this is kind of at least comparable, to be honest, to that of the Celeron 5G SC, and definitely faster than that of the HMD Vibe or the Blu View 5. So scrolling through multitasking stuff now, let's go through Wikipedia. And here's the main page. Yes, it's going to be kind of at least quite fast, to be honest, and spry. And over here is the Christmas. Now, it is actually Orthodox Christmas over in Russia and Ukraine and Belarus, as well as some other Orthodox countries such as Romania and Bulgaria. With this phone, you're probably expected to do rudimentary tasks such as light to medium browsing, light to medium gaming and stuff, calling, taking pictures and videos, listening to music, as well as watch videos and stuff. So basically, this phone is mainly reserved for like rudimentary or maybe some medium tasks, to be honest, because this phone is quite capable and it is definitely of a brand name. As you can see, there's some brand cachet associated with Samsung compared with Boost Mobile or even HMD, even though HMD does own Nokia, to be honest. Another feature quite impressive is not only is there face unlock, to be honest, even though the face unlock is kind of at least atrocious, because this is actually a $60 or $40 phone depending on where you buy it. There's actually a fingerprint sensor over here at the power button, so no ultrasonic unfortunately, but let me show you guys how it works. Yes, as you can see, this is how to unlock the phone, and this phone does have 64 gigs of storage. Let me show you guys. Yes, and about half the storage is actually taken, and the reason for all of this is because of the bloatware. Now you do have like Samsung included apps and stuff, but what's more egregious is Straight Talk, yes, which is actually one of the bloatwares, and you actually do see some tons of apps and stuff and games such as Timu, Vita, Mahjong, Block Blast and stuff. Now these are actually the apps I installed, but as you can see, there's actually some unwanted bloatware, to be honest. So it does like rob some of the storage, and hence you only really get to use like around 40 gigabytes maximum, I do believe so. But with this price, you're probably expected to use this phone as an MP3 player, as there's actually one speaker, to be honest, yes. But the lucky thing is there's actually a 3.5mm headphone jack, which is quite good and decent for the price. And many phones these days don't even ship with a headphone jack, so if you're an audiophile who loves headphones, then this phone is probably good for you. And here is an audio test. Let me show you guys. Oh, jeez. Unfortunately, this is the only speaker, to be honest. It does sound quite loud, however, And as you can see, there's actually 4 gigs of RAM here. And unless if you download a copy of Lineage OS, then Android 15 is definitely going to be the last version of Android this phone could run, officially, to be honest. Now, like, Lineage OS could definitely support, like, say, the A14 as well as the Moto G5G, but for the HMD Vibe, Boost Mobile Cellular 5G SC, as well as the Blu View 5, you probably would not really get Lineage OS support, to be honest, just because Lineage OS might not really care about many of these smaller phones. But the A14 is actually a major budget phone, and it is quite well selling in many European countries as well as Asian countries, even some African markets, to be honest. But one major advantage is this phone does support 15-watt wired charging, definitely a bit slower than that of the Moto G5G, which actually supports 18 watts, but definitely faster than that of the 10 watts seen in the Blu View 5, Boost Mobile Cellular 5G SC, as well as the HMD Vibe. And unlike many more expensive phones, this phone has an Infinity V display. Let me show you guys. As you can see, there's actually a small notch instead of a camera hole punch, just like what's seen on the HMD Vibe, as well as many more premium Samsungs. And of course, with a budget phone, you would definitely see bigger bezels than that of the iPhone or many premium Samsungs. Let me show you guys a size comparison. Yes, as you can see, the Samsung is definitely bigger than that of the iPhone, but has a slightly smaller display. Now, the phone you actually saw was the 15 Pro Max, definitely not the 16 Pro Max. I just think the 16 Pro Max is not really worth an upgrade from 15 Pro Max, to be honest. Not much changes. But anyways, let's talk about the battery, because this phone does have a 5000 milliamp hour battery, which I do believe is going to be quite good, to be honest. 5000 milliamp hours is going to satisfy many people's needs. But because this is going to be a budget phone, hence you might not be able to do as many tasks from like 100 to 0. Which means this phone is less computationally efficient than that of many more powerful phones. But in reality, 5000 could get you through the whole day, to be honest. I'll bet you might do fewer tasks, but in reality, because many apps are quite snappy, to be honest, just like that of the Boost Mobile Cellular 5G SC. Hence, you could actually do a ton of tasks from 100 to 0. And there's actually not only a bigger battery than that of the Blu View 5 or the HMD Vibe. This phone is definitely much faster, so you could actually do a lot more tasks, giving the allotted battery life. Now let's move on to the design, because this design is quite premium. You would actually see some glass and stuff over here. You might think it's aluminium, but in reality, this is actually plastic siding. And in the back, you would actually also see plastic, and there's actually distinctive texture over here. So say if you want to run your fingers through it, you would actually hear this sound. So I do believe this is some texture. I'm not sure what it is. And as you can see, there are actually 3 concentric circles for the camera. And now this phone is actually quite thick and blocky, to be honest. And definitely not thin at all. And instead of having any rounded edges, this actually has 90-degree angles and stuff. So definitely more in the budget range. But in reality, this is quite premium compared to that of many other budget phones. Given the build quality and materials and stuff, as well as the glass in the front, this is definitely going to be quite premium for $40. Now the plastic on the back is definitely going to be reflective over here. As you can see, it does seem quite reflective. And unfortunately, what this phone does not have is an IP rating, similar to that of the Moto G5G. So no IP rating of any kind. It is not water nor dust resistant. But 2 other budget phones are, such as the Boost Cellular 5G SC, which actually has IPX2 water resistance rating, and the HMD Vibe, which actually has IP52, which is going to be better than no IP rating. Now, a common characteristic of many budget phones is the terrible nichage. This is no exception at around 500 nits, but still it is better than that of the Boost Mobile Cellular 5G SC, the HMD Vibe, or the Blu View 5, which have max nitages in the 400s. Now, this is actually 500, to be honest, which is quite decent for the price. And even though this is actually 90 Hz display, you can see it is quite smooth, albeit with some latency, to be honest. Definitely not the 120 seen in the Moto G5G, but still, it has a 90 Hz refresh rate, which is still quite better than that of the iPhone 16, which only has 60 Hz, to be honest. And let's not forget the phone's resolution is definitely better for sure at 2400 by 1080, which means a pixel density of 400 pixels per inch. Now, if I were to mention 3 other phones, the Moto G5G HMD Vibe and the Blu View 5. These phones are actually 720 screens, which means they have a pixel density around 270 pixels per inch, and the aptly named Boost Mobile Cellular 5G SC actually does have a 900p display, which means the pixel density around 330, give or take, which is definitely not as good as that of a 1080p display. So this display is definitely going to be better, even if it does not have 120 Hz. Now let's move on to the processor. Now this phone does have a MediaTek MT6833 Dimensity 700, which is actually an octa-core with 2 performance cores being 2.2 GHz and 6 efficiency cores being 2 GHz. So why not? Let's test out the AI benchmark to see how good it actually is compared to other phones. So now let's go to device, and I do assume I might have to rerun the AI benchmark, to be honest, but it did take 5 minutes on this phone. Okay guys, the scores are in. As you can see, slightly lower than my previous test the first time. As you can see, there's going to be a slightly lower battery life than when I tested it before, because it's now at 21%. But let me show you guys the Boost Mobile Cellular 5G SC. I mean, the scores are kind of on par, to be honest. Slightly lower half precision scores, but in the previous tests, a bit higher, to be honest. And even like the night before, when I actually first tested out this phone, it was slightly higher, but the quantized score is actually slightly lower on the A14, unfortunately. So this phone is slightly faster, but I would not really count on much, because this phone is also $10 more, to be honest. But still, this definitely does seem slightly more laggy, to be honest, in terms of daily usage, because the Cellular 5G SC is a bit more spry, but I'm not really sure, to be honest, because I've not really tested out the Cellular 5G that much. But this phone does seem quite laggy, a bit, not really that much compared with that of the Boost Cellular 5G SC, but still it is kind of about equal, to be honest. I do agree. Now let's test out the Geekbench 6. Now unfortunately I did forget to do Geekbench 6 on the other phone. So Geekbench 6 here, and unfortunately the HMD Vibe and Blu View 5 do not support Geekbench 6. Okay guys, over here is the Geekbench 6 CPU test result. So overall, this $40 phone is quite utilitarian, and it could do everything you could throw at it, including security updates, like up to 4 or 5 years of security updates, and browsing, calling, taking pictures and videos, listening to music, watching videos, playing games and stuff. This could basically do everything you throw at it. And now, the second to last thing I'm gonna do is the speed test, because this phone does have Wi-Fi 802.11, ABGN, AC, which is actually Wi-Fi 5, as well as Bluetooth 5.2. So I'm not going to turn it on. And over here is the results. I'll show you guys once it finishes. Unfortunately, due to the fact SIM cards are prohibitively expensive, therefore I'm not going to test out the SIM cards, because it will be kind of redundant for me to buy a $20 to $30 plan just to test out this phone for maybe a day or two. So here are the scores over here. So why not? I'm actually going to test out the camera, because this is actually a triple camera setup. Yes, 50 megapixels main camera, 2 megapixels depth camera, and 2 megapixels macro camera. And as for the main camera, it is actually f1.8, and as for the 2 other cameras, the secondary and tertiary cameras, it is actually f2.4. And there's also a 30 megapixel front-facing camera and 1080p video recording, as I'll show you guys. Over here, FHD 30. Unfortunately, no 2K, which is actually 1440p. But why not? Let's test out the camera test, shall we? Okay guys, this is the camera test of the A14 5G. So I'm actually going to go outside now. And I can't really compare this camera to that of the other 3 phones, to be honest, but it does seem kind of okay, at least usable, to be honest. Okay guys, so today I'm actually going to review the Galaxy A14 here. It is a 2-year-old phone for $40. Okay guys, this is a video test. Unfortunately, it is really frigid outside, so right now I'm actually going to go in. Over here's the no smoking sign, and I'm just going to go in. Okay guys, over here is the outdoor video sample. Unfortunately, I could not really do the outdoor video sample of the Boost Cellular 5G nor the HMD Vibe, as those are actually nighttime. And over here is my car. Now I'm actually going to go in. Oh, I cannot even unlock it. Now I need a key card here. So let me show you guys. Pause. I'm actually going once again. Yes, as you can see, unfortunately my car's a bit dirty, but I'm actually going to try to to clean my car for a bit. Okay guys, so to conclude, this phone is definitely a banger for $40 over here. Yes, $40. Not only is this phone quite fast for its price, it is definitely no powerhouse, but it is definitely fast. You can definitely throw everything in it. It also has a decent camera, to be honest, for the price, as well as a decent screen with 1080p, not 720p. And it also has decent battery as well, and decent connectivity, and it also has 5G. And the most important thing, this phone does support one more major software update, as well as 2 or 3 years more in terms of security updates. Now if you were to compare this phone to the Blu View 5, which is actually $10 cheaper, this phone actually blows the Blu View 5 out of the water, and $10 more would definitely get you this, which is actually vastly superior, to be honest. And as for the HMD Vibe, even though this phone is better in almost every single way, the biggest downside is the water resistance, as there's no water resistance of any kind on this phone. Even more important is the HMD Vibe would not even support Android 15. Now as for the Boost Mobile Cellular 5G SC, this phone does have a more recognizable brand name, which is actually the Samsung moniker rather than the Boost Mobile moniker. It has a better screen, to be honest, a better camera, faster charging speeds, and better connectivity features, but unfortunately this phone does not have any water resistance of any kind. And its processor and battery are kind of debatable, because the Boost Cellular 5G SC is slightly faster, to be honest, so you would slightly be able to do more things from 100 to 0, but in reality this Samsung, you cannot really go any wrong with the Samsung, to be honest. And if you were to compare the Samsung to the Moto G5G, this Samsung does have a better screen resolution at 1080p versus 720p, a slightly better processor. Well, that is still debatable, to be honest, because I've not really tested out the Moto G5G yet, so I don't really know. This phone does have one more camera lens, which means the camera is going to be slightly better, although that's still debatable, to be honest. Assuming that one camera is actually any useful. This phone does have equal battery life to that of the Moto G5G, but this phone has a worse refresh rate at around 90Hz compared to 120Hz, and worse wide charging speeds, as this phone could only charge up to 15 watts compared to 18 watts, to be honest. And also there are also less 5G bands on this phone than that of the Moto G5G. So who should buy this phone? The answer is children, actually preteens, teenagers and stuff, who are actually trying on their first phone, to be honest. This phone is quite decent for $40. It can be used as an MP3 player, as a basic game player and stuff. And probably seniors and less tech savvy people who don't really care about technology. And maybe poor people, to be honest. Because for $40, you can't really go wrong. And many homeless people on SSI might be able to afford this phone, to be honest, at $40. Also, this phone is going to be banging as a backup phone in case your main phone actually broke or is in the shop. This phone is going to be a decent backup phone. You could actually use it as an MP3 player and stuff. And you could even use it in foreign countries, assuming this is unlocked, because this is not unlocked, to be honest. So you can't really use it in foreign countries. But kind of just a suggestion, to be honest, because this phone does support all 3 major carriers if it were unlocked. Otherwise, it's only available through Straight Talk. And the last thing this is useful for is as a DoorDash and Uber Eats phone. So in case if you're multi-apping and you want to make more money, then this is going to be a decent bargain phone, to be honest. Especially if you only need like Wi-Fi support and stuff. You could actually install DoorDash, Dasher app, and actually do DoorDash on this phone. If you don't want to be hurt for attention by using a more expensive iPhone. But in reality, for $40, I would not expect much. I would expect maybe some sushi meal or all you can eat sushi plus tip and stuff, and that will be my $40. So thank you guys for watching. Please give a big thumbs up, subscribe for more videos, and I'm gonna see you guys soon.